Being the fastest quarterback you've never seen. I'll be right back. There's no quicker way to get into DFS. Play Super Draft today and see for yourself.
We're behind. They're all fired up. What we got to do? First place, our defense has got to go out there and take the ball. Then when we get the ball, we got to have 11 people that's going to do their job and try to score every time you get the football. If we do that, we'll be all right. Do that, we'll be all right.
Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to another episode or another edition of Football University, where we talk anything, everything football related. It's for all the football heads out there. And we find a way, yes, to bring it back to Alabama. So RTR, Roll Tide Roll to all the Bama fans, Stephen Hicks, 6-0. Yeah, glad to be here. I hope you all had an exciting weekend. And an exciting past week of just, having a good week, hopefully. And listen, we got an action-packed show tonight. We're going to discuss everything, Alabama's upcoming season, the quarterback race. We're going to talk about maybe touching some recruitings. See, we got a few questions here. So, and we're going to, talk about NFL, Bama quarterbacks. We're going to make it happen because this is what we do here at Football University. William Bryan is in the house. So let's start with my first topic. And my first topic that I want to discuss, huge news came out. I guess they listened to the show here at Football University because I just asked this question last Monday. The question I posed was, who's going to cover? How's the Bama-Texas game going to play out? Who's going to cover it? Is it going to be, sorry about that, it's going to be on Fox College Football Kickoff, the noon kickoff, or is it going to be on CBS? Well, maybe I think they were fans of Football University because they heard us loud and clear. And the next day, they made an emphasis to say, listen, that Alabama-Texas matchup will be a 6 o'clock kickoff under the lights in Bryant-Denny versus Texas on ESPN. It's going to be exciting. We know that Texas game is going to be crazy. Steve Sarkisian, the Longhorns coming in, Quinn Ewers, Worthy coming into Bryant-Denny. Although we didn't play our best game, I think we're going to be ready to get after those Texas Longhorns. And, having it on ESPN, you kind of notice that Alabama's kind of starting to, well, not just Alabama, but the SEC is starting to break away from the CBS and kind of start going to the SEC, ABC network contract. So you're starting to see more. I think Alabama will have more ESPN games kind of leading up to the ABC 2024 SEC network package deal where we'll no longer be hearing Gary Danielson and CBS, but we'll probably be hearing more Kirk Herbstreit, guys like Greg McElroy, some of those guys. So it'll be exciting to see. So I wanted to talk about that Bama-Texas game. I mean, it's going to be so exciting. Week 2, under the lights in Bryant-Denny. It's going to be exciting. I can't wait. So RTR. So let's get into the student section. Y'all are rolling. William Bryan says RTR. William Bryan says, anybody know anything about this Jeremiah Beeman? Jeremiah Beeman, the talented defensive lineman out of Birmingham, Alabama, by the way of A.H. Parker, 4-star, 5-star guy. He probably is going to finish as a 5-star with the type of senior season that he's going to have. But I think this kid is a stud. You look at kind of the landscape of Birmingham, the state of Alabama. I think it's important that Coach Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide staff make sure they take care of areas like Birmingham and the state of Alabama. I think this is a good step in the right direction to shore up that defensive lineman depth. He's a prospect, can stop the run. You can push him on the edge. You can put him D-line. He can play down. 1-2 technique, 3 technique, defensive tackle. He can probably bulk up. So I think it's going to be important, for him to continue to develop. But I think this kid has got it. I think he's got the right mindset, coming from a good family and coming from a good program at A.H. Parker. So shouts out to Jeremiah Beeman. Hopefully that answers your question, William Bryan. So let's stay in the student section. Wow, a lot of recruiting. So we're going to stay in recruiting, Matt. What are your thoughts on 4-star RB prospect Anthony Rogers, and what chances does Alabama have on receiving him? Yes, this is another talented kid out of the state of Alabama. He's down there in Pike Road High School, one of those newer schools coming out of Montgomery. This is an ultra turbo. You see, Turbo is in his middle name. This guy's quick. He has the jets. I think he is going to be elite talent. He already has a lot of offers: D1, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Auburn, most of the SEC offers. So this is a priority prospect. Alabama loves to recruit running backs. We love to have quality depth, and the state of Alabama has been putting on a lot of prospects when it comes to recruiting. Alabama's been holding their own. So I think, like I said earlier, I think it's important that Coach Saban, get the Alabama guys, as well as Georgia guys as well, and maybe get some Florida guys and kind of just have the great nucleus of talents. But make sure you take care of the home state guys. Hopefully Anthony Rogers, I think he's just an explosive, very agile, quick speed, quickness type of running back that I think is going to make waves, have a great career. So hopefully we get him on the Tide. So let's stay in the student section. Jeff Stapleton says, Saban's building a monster. You can't help but see what's happening. Yeah, Saban is in his bag. We're going to discuss Saban. Saban took a little vacation, kind of went a little viral last week. Coach Saban was in Rome. Rome, Italy. You cannot beat that. He's out there in Venice and Florence and, out there, probably going through the Vatican and everything. So celebrity status Coach Saban is everywhere, and people were just showing different pictures of him. So shouts out to Coach Saban. I'm glad to see him get a little vacation, experience, international travel, and enjoying the family and the scenery out there in Rome. So when in Rome, do his Rome. So here we go. Shots fired back to those Georgia fans. Rex, I see them Georgia bugs are starting to try to rattle your chains too. Listen, the Alabama-Georgia rivalry is going to be crazy this year. I know it's a rivalry, but we don't even play each other each year. I don't know how this rivalry came about. I think the whole relationship between Kirby, Saban, Alabama, Georgia. Georgia's the 2-time national championship, so they're up 2-0 against us, and so they have the right to be running at the bit. So it's going to be interesting to see. Let's stay in the student section. Y'all are rolling. We got some great questions. Stephen Hicks says, Matt, who's the hardest hitter you've seen for Bama? For me, it is Reuben Foster. Reuben Foster is probably the hardest hitter I have seen. Rolando McClain was up there, D'Amico Rhines, Freddie Roach. Let's see, Dante Hightower, CJ Mosley. Um, those guys are hard hitters. But for me, Reuben Foster, the tenacity, the head hunter. I mean, you can go back to the LSU game. We were kind of going back and forth, and it was a struggle. And then the end of regulation, we kick off to them, and Reuben Foster comes through, and Leonard Fournette catches the ball, and he's just kind of moseying along. And then out of nowhere, a heat-seeking missile, Reuben Foster comes out there and takes his head off. And I think that hit, kind of shift the momentum to Alabama. And Alabama was able to win that game in Death Valley. I can go on and on when it comes to Reuben Foster. Right now he's in the USFL. I think he's going to finish, USFL probably all defensive team. I think he's going to have a shot to sign with some NFL teams. So Reuben Foster is my hardest hitter at Alabama. So let's go back to my next topic. So we talked about Alabama, SEC, ESPN, ABC. We know the big contract, the 12-team playoff is coming up. I do think Texas is going to be pretty good. But like I said, I just think their strength of schedule, not having the all SEC schedule this year, is going to hurt them in the long run. But since we're talking Bama and Texas, and that mentioned Quinn Ewers, their quarterback, Steve Sarkisian, their offense, it got me thinking, who's going to be our quarterback? It got me thinking about the QB race. I'm a huge Top Gun fan, Maverick Goose. I think they celebrated 30, maybe 40-year anniversary. 40-year anniversary last week of it coming out. And, it got me thinking, who's going to take this race? Who's going to take ownership of this quarterback race? And, I mentioned Ty Simpson last week. Ty Simpson, I want to highlight him again because videos showed last week, of a clip of him throwing with QB Country, the QB Country coach in Nashville, and he looked very good. Balls were very accurate, very tight spiral. But I think it's important that, Ty Simpson and all the quarterbacks and all the players continue to develop the work on their game. But when it comes to Ty Simpson, I mentioned that if I had a wish list for him, I want him to be like Joe Burrow. And, I want to make it Alabama related. I would love for him to not only be like Joe Burrow, but have like a hit of A.J. McCarron. And I say A.J. McCarron because I feel like A.J. McCarron doesn't get enough credit. Him being a two-time state national champion, his savviness, his command, his demand of the offense. If Ty Simpson can have a Joe Burrow and a little bit of A.J. McCarron, some of those intangibles, some of those characteristics, some of those leadership qualities to really have a no-nonsense characteristic to score as many points against the defense, have that type of mentality. I think that would be important for Ty Simpson, maybe to take the reins and take this QB race. So there's a couple other things I want to talk about Ty Simpson. I mentioned that, he threw an accurate ball. It's important that he continues to develop. But I think it's important that he continues to not only have good accuracy, but he needs to take it to the next level and get maybe pinpoint accuracy. And I allude that to, Tua. Tua was, not only was he accurate, but he can throw a nail, through a key door, throw a ball through a key door. He was pinpoint accurate. Bryce Young was pinpoint accurate. So as far as like having placement, not only being accurate, but putting it in the right spot for the receivers, having great timing, different angles, being able to be pinpoint accuracy. So if you're Ty Simpson, you listen to Football University, continue to develop being accurate, but listen, get pinpoint accurate, be even more accurate, continue to work on your game. And I think deep ball accuracy is going to be important for us in this offense because we have these running backs, and I'm going to discuss the running backs later, kind of going a little bit more in depth, but I think it's important that we have that deep ball accuracy. You look at teams when they cross the 50 or some of the top quarterbacks in the NFL, they were able to have that deep ball accuracy. So I think it's important we're able to have that deep ball accuracy. And if Ty Simpson is able to put it together, being not only accurate, but pinpoint accurate and have that deep ball accuracy, have that command, I think that's really going to take our offense to the next level. So I had to talk about that. Let me see what else. Is there anything else I wanted to discuss about Ty Simpson? I mentioned, looking accurate, pinpoint accuracy, deep ball accuracy, timing. And I still think he needs to work, and the receivers need to continue to work on their developing, catching the ball, having hands, great hand-eye coordination, working on the routes, getting the timing down. If you work on it now, if you work on putting in the work now, it's only going to pay off later in the season. Hopefully we'll be able to pay off and hold that national championship trophy. So, yeah, I want to talk about the QB races in Bama. So we're going to get off back to the student section. So let's see where you guys are rolling at. Stephen Hicks says Bama's hanging that big L on Texas. Yeah, we're defending our house. Yeah, it's going to be different. This is not for Texas. This is them not going to Oklahoma. They're not playing they don't go to Oklahoma. They play in the neutral site. This is not going to Baylor. This is not going to Kansas. This is not going to Kansas State. No, you're coming into the SEC, and we got you at home. So listen, to your point, just Stephen Hicks, we are looking to help the county, give them an L, send them back to Austin, Texas with the L. So, I think Bama's prepared. So, let's go. Let's go to Jeff Saban's comment right here. He said, I think, Texas fans are underestimating Bama's defense and offense like everybody else. Real Bama fans know what's up. Yeah, I think, obviously, people love to pick at Alabama. Alabama is college football, and so any take they can have to, knock Alabama or, just have mention Alabama is going to generate buzz no matter how crazy the take. But, yeah, I love it. To your point, Jeff Saban, I love it when they don't pick Alabama. I love it when they say Alabama's not good. We're not good. We're no more the dynasty. We don't have the talent. Saban's losing the step. Who did he hire as coaches? We don't have a quarterback. I love it. Keep piling it on. Because all thing that does is continue to fuel the fire. So I love it when they count us out. I mean, I think that's just what makes anybody, if you're a competitor, and I know Coach Saban is the ultimate competitor, I think he's going to use that and have the right mentality for these guys. And these guys are going to use it for you to go out there and be dominant and hopefully bring back number 19 national championship. So let's do one more comment. Y'all are rolling. That's more. So let's go to my next topic. So we discussed, Bama, Texas, the Longhorns, Alabama's quarterback room, and their offense. And I kind of want to discuss, this thing when it comes to Alabama's running back room. I want to discuss Alabama's running back room because I think we have so much depth, so much talent. I think it's important that not only do we utilize these running backs, and I know it's a lot of people out there that are going to say, who's going to be the starters? That's so important. But, the starters are good, but I think it's important you look at those second and third team guys. That's where the depth of your team, if you have quality depth at the 2s and the 3 position, that shows you how really great your team's going to be competitively and depth-wise. So, at the running back position, we have so many horses, and I've said it time and time. You look at a Jason McClellan, you look at a Roydell Williams, you look at a Jam Miller, you look at a Justice Haynes, you look at a Richard Young. I mean, we're like 5 or 6 deep, and we're going to need these guys this year. And I think it's not – I think it's important that these running backs are able to, play their role, know their style, but know that they are able to – we might have to depend on you in certain games where you're going to have to carry the load. And I think it's important that each running back know their role, but know that they need to be prepared to carry the load for certain games, certain drives, certain quarters. Maybe they have the upper hand, so and continue to develop at the RB position, but continue to develop in a way where, they're prepared to carry that number one load maybe for a whole game. I think we have the running backs too. I mentioned them. I think Jace can carry the load for a whole game. I think Roydell can do. I think he hasn't even been unleashed yet. Jam Miller hasn't been unleashed. We've seen the talented Justice Haynes, and listen, Richard Young hasn't even been unleashed yet. So we have a lot of talent, and I'm excited to unleash these guys. And I think these guys need to continue to develop and push each other and let them know that it might vary throughout the season. It's constantly evolving, or as Stephen A. Smith says, it's fluid. I go back to Alabama when they had Josh Jacobs, and we know Josh Jacobs, he was the NFL rushing leader this past year, but that year with Tua, he was like the number 3 running back on the depth chart, but yet he was the first running back drafted that year. So, it varies. He was our best running back, but he was still number 3 on the depth chart. So, I wouldn't get too caught up in the depth, but just know we're going to play the guys in the right position. And we need to rotate our depth. Even on the defensive end, rotate those linebackers. We have so many linebackers. You look at a Justin Jefferson, a Deontay Lawson, a Jahad Campbell, Trezor Marshall. Like, we need to rotate those guys. That way we can continue to develop experience and depth, and it just makes the competition that much more better as a unit, as a team. So, yeah, I think it's important that we continue to rotate that talent. When it comes to the running backs, obviously we need to rotate. I mentioned the history with Josh Jacobs. And I think, we're going to do that. We're going to be strategic. And I think it's important that these running backs continue to develop to be complete running backs. And I say complete running backs where you can run inside, you can run outside, you're great in pass pro, you can run a slant, catch the ball, pass protection, you're effective, reading, having great vision, not turning the ball over. You're just explosive. You look at a Marshall Faulk. For me, when it comes to teaching running backs, young running backs out there, if you're out there, go watch Marshall Faulk's tape. This guy did it all. He was just a complete running back. So I think it's important that we develop these guys, but to continue to develop them to be complete running backs and be dominant. So that was my 2 cents on the RB room. So let's pause right here. Let's go to the citizen section. I know y'all are going crazy. Roll Tide and Rise Up says, Roll Tide, Roll Family. Van Edwards says he's been starting a new job lately. So congratulations on the new job. Rags and Riches. So yeah, Jeff Stapleton always brings a good points. He says, listen, what about David Pollard? He made Saban angry. Yes, we have to thank Pollard, make a t-shirt for David when Saban wins the national championship, 8th natty championship. Listen, Saban wins the national championship. We all Alabama Nation needs to send, candy and cards and thank yous and, maybe we should have him at our trophy celebration. We can say, David, this one's for you. Cheers to you. But, yeah, thank you, David Pollack. So I'm glad to see him kind of push Coach Saban and make him a little bit more militant, making him let him know that he needs to be the Saban, still be Saban. Let them know that you are still the GOAT and go out there and win a national championship, win the SEC championship, win the SEC West, be dominant. Get back to running the ball, being physical up front. So I think Alabama's addressed those issues, and I think hopefully we host that trophy at the end and get number 19. We'll be able to thank David Pollack to Jeff Stapleton's point. So let's say in the student section, y'all are roses. So we got to rise up and Roll Tide. And speaking of rise up, we got Falcons fans here. I'm going to shift over to the NFL, discuss Bryce. Bryce Young, a lot of NFL teams, they had their rookie camp. He was able to do rookie camp up there in Charlotte, North Carolina. I think he did that 2 weeks ago. Now OTAs started. That means other team activities. You're able to wear helmets. It's basically you're able to do all this stuff without pads. And it's very competitive. My experience being in OTAs was very competitive. And rave reviews that I've heard for Bryce Young is that they've thrown a lot. Obviously, Andy Dalton, he has the veteran leadership. They're going to kind of start with him, but Bryce Young is still getting first team reps. And they said he actually made sure a play. They made a mistake on a call play, but he actually corrected him. So that just shows you what type of student of the game he is, what type of football IQ he has, what type of smarts, intelligent, what type of memory he has. It shows you what type of student that he is studying the game. So and I mentioned Rise Up. So I mentioned the Falcons, and shouts out to the Falcons fans. I wish y'all had Bryce Young, but y'all don't. Y'all got Desmond Ritter. So Desmond Ritter was on today, and he mentioned that, he's excited about playing Bryce Young week 1. And we know the Falcons usually start with Carolina Panthers. I think they start in Atlanta. That would be an interesting game to see Bryce go against the Falcons. So probably a lot of Alabama fans. But listen, I mean, bringing it back to Alabama, Alabama played Cincinnati in the playoffs a couple of years ago, so we do have that matchup. Bryce Young is 1-0 versus Cincinnati, versus Desmond Ritter, so it's going to be interesting to see. But I think Carolina Panthers got something brewing up there, and I think the leadership of Frank Wright, him being an exceptional quarterback in the NFL. Really a really exceptional offensive mind, head coach, his leadership, Jim Caldwell, McCown, the staff that they have to really help young Bryce be successful. So it'd be interesting to see Bryce play them Falcons. Falcons fans, what are y'all going to do? Are y'all going to pull Alabama Falcons fans? Are y'all going to pull for Bryce, or are you going to pull for your Falcons? Let me know, what are you going to do? Roll Tide and rise up? Or what are you going to do? So a lot of y'all are going in on David Pollock. I want to thanks for giving Nick Saban encouragement for this, David. Yeah, listen, we need to send him we win a national championship. We need to send him whatever he likes to eat. Roses, chocolates, whatever. We need to send it. Listen, great. The Falcons fans have spoken. Roll Tide and Rise Up says he is rolling with Bryce, even though he is a Falcons fan. Yeah, I want to see what the Falcons fans are going to do. Are they going to pull for Bryce? The Falcons, Alabama fans. So it'll be interesting to see. So thanks for answering that question. Roll Tide and Rise Up. Rags and Riggins. Yeah, I think we might have came out at the same time. When I was in high school back in 2003, McAdor was 5A. I don't think we ever played 6A. We might have played a couple teams that were 6A, but we were always 5A. So, yeah, we might have played each other at Rags and Fitness. So let's go back to Roll Tide and Rise Up says, my Falcons are going to Falcon. Unfortunately, listen, I just want Bryce Young to ball out versus y'all. I'm sorry. I just want Bryce Young to be Rookie of the Year. Hopefully he's in MVP conversation. Hopefully he makes it happen. But you got to be a little bit more positive with all the Falcons fans out there. So rise up to all the Falcons fans. So we discussed Alabama. We discussed Bama. We discussed Bryce Young. So let's stay in the NFL. So we mentioned Bryce, QB. Let's discuss my other Alabama quarterback in the NFL, which is going to be Tua Tagovailoa. I think Tua, I want to set this up for my Alabama quarterback NFL Super Bowl odds. And I'm going to start, and I'm going to set this up as which former Alabama quarterback has the best odds to win a Super Bowl. And yes, I'm going to start with the guy who went to the Super Bowl last year and was this close for winning it. If it wasn't for Patrick Mahomes, if it wasn't for Quez Watkins dropping the ball, Jalen Hurts would have had a Super Bowl. If it wasn't for Jalen fumbling that ball at the beginning of the game, I think it was that close. But anyway, I think Jalen Hurts has the biggest odds from the former Alabama Football University Super Bowl odds. I would put Jalen Hurts as probably he has the best odds to win the Super Bowl. And number two, I think, is not too far behind him is Tua Tagovailoa down there in Miami, South Beach, under the leadership of Mike McDaniel, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Jalen Ramsey, Vic Fangio as the D coordinator. Listen, don't sleep on Tua. I think Jalen going to the Super Bowl last year really put ups the ante for Tua. So Tua has to go to the Super Bowl and he's got to win it. So I think right now Tua has the best odds for going to the Super Bowl. And now we got Mac and Bryce. And I'm going to say, I think I'm going to go Bryce as number 3 to have the best odds to go to the Super Bowl. We mentioned Carolina Panthers. I think they're in the NFC South Division, which is not as difficult. Whereas Mac Jones, he's in the AFC East. He's got to go against Tua. He's got to go against Josh Allen. He's got to go against Tua, Josh Allen. Now Aaron Rodgers. In comes Aaron Rodgers in the AFC East. So I think he has the harder road to get to. So that's why I put Bryce Young at number 3 as my football university ranking Super Bowl odds. So, that's my ranking. Jalen, Tua, Bryce, then Mac Jones. And speaking of Mac Jones, I think it's important, Mike Jones, that this is a big year for Mac Jones. You know, he's got Bill O'Brien. This is a make or break year for Mac Jones. I think he was kind of given a raw deal last year, but I think Mac could have done some things better. I think he could have worked with, some things could have been better. I'm quite sure Mac won't say it, but listen, I think this is a make or break year for Mac Jones. Bill Belichick, he doesn't show favorites like that, so he's always about guys competing and being competitive and going out there and proving it and winning the job. So this is a make or break year for Mac Jones, and I think it's important. He has a really, really successful year. That way, maybe the New England Patriots won't trade him. They won't try to draft another quarterback. He proves himself to Bill Belichick, Robert Kraft, and that front office up there in New England. So let's stay in the student section. I see y'all. We got a lot of high school football talk. Is that what it is going on in here? A lot of talk about Gadsden City. So let's go to the next topic. So I mentioned Bryce, I mentioned Tua, I mentioned Mac, I mentioned the quarterbacks. I mentioned I talked Ty Simpson, so we're gonna talk Ty Simpson. I gotta mention Jalen Miro. I think something that I kind of noticed about Jalen, I think that can really help him. I mentioned the QB mechanics that he needs to continue to develop at, but I think he needs to work on his footwork. Footwork in the pocket, being a little bit more instinctive, anticipatory, having a little bit more poise, getting more reps. I think the more practice he gets, the more reps, balls up he gets, whether it's under center, getting in the right play, the more confidence he will play with, and the more poise he will have. So Jalen Miro, if you're out there listening, continue to work on your game, footwork, QB mechanics, accuracy, ball placement, timing, making sure receivers get a good target. So that way, if you might take over the race, it's going to be you. And not only does Mac Jones need to have a big year, but this guy needs to have a big year for Alabama. And I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, Dallas Turner, man, listen, this is his money year. He was, he had the breakout freshman year 2 years ago. But he started off, he had some spots last year, but it was mainly Will Anderson. I think, listen, this is his money year. He needs to get at least 15, 16 sacks. I think he needs to get double digits. If I had a high reach goal for him, it would probably be 14, 15. On the minimum end, it needs to be 12, 13 just this year. So listen, I think Dallas Turner needs to have a beast year because this is his money year. If he's trying to go potentially first round, we know the talent of Kool-Aid probably going first round, a J.C. Latham. And, maybe Malik Benson could have potential to have a Jameson Williams impact. And listen, Dallas Turner, this is your year. Make it happen. So let's go on to student section. Shouts out to James Knox. James Knox says, give Miro some stickum. Yeah. We don't need Miro to be fumbling the ball, to your point. Like, he needs to hold on to the ball, ball security is always important, especially from the quarterback position. You know, Coach Saban, how he is. He does not want to turn the ball over. He does not. He wants to play clean offensive ball, take control of the ball, control the clock, control the line of scrimmage, and, you know, lead the defense off the field. So listen, to your point, James, yes, he needs to work on something. Do not fumble the ball, especially when you're running. I think that's his specialty. So Jalen Milroe, hold on to the ball. Do not turn the ball over. So let's stay in the student section. Y'all are rolling. Matt, what are your thoughts on Purdy coming back? Matt, I guess you're referring to Brock Purdy for the San Francisco 49ers. You know, I think he'll be fine, but I think, listen, Trey Lance is going to push for that position. You know, Kyle Shanahan, you know, he might not show favorites like that, but, you know, I think, you know, don't sleep on Trey Lance. That could be interesting to see as well up there in San Francisco in the Bay Area. Alabama Tide says, you know, why did Harold transfer? So that leads me to my next topic, and I want to talk about transfer portal guys. You know, Alabama, we got Jalen Key, we got Trey Amos, we got C.J. Dupree, we got Malik Benson. We got a lot of transfer portal guys, and I kind of wanted to set a pause right here and talk about do's and don'ts for portal guys to give them words of advice. Listen, do's and don'ts, and I want to set it up like this. You know, I want to give you the do's, you know, the guys you can kind of emulate your game after. I mentioned Jamison Williams. He was a transfer guy from Ohio State, came into Alabama, bought into the system, worked hard, and continue to make guys around him better. That's the dude that you can do. So all those transfer portal guys, obviously Saban thinks good enough for you to come to Alabama. He thinks you can help improve our roster, but come in and work. Come in and buy into the team, buy into the culture. You know, push yourself. You're going to have to go through adversity. You're going to have to compete for the starting job. So you might have to show some perseverance. You might have to show, you know, how to overcome. You might have to show some confidence, even going some rough days. Don't just, you know, say, oh man, I don't know if I'm gonna get any playing time. No, just continue to compete. If you're compete at a high level and continue to work. That way you can be like a Jamison Williams. You can be like a Jahmyr Gibbs. You can be like a some of those talented transfers that came in. So, but I will say, don't be like the other guys. You know, don't be like the don'ts guys, like the guys that don't buy into the system. Quite frankly, they're not playing consistently. They're not doing things right on the field as well as off the field. Don't do those things. So if you're the transfer portal guys and you're listening to Football University with me, Matt Caddell, listen, come in and work. Buy into the culture, the system, what Coach Saban is trying to tell you, and you will pay it. I think that's what hurt Eli Ricks last year, not buying into the system, you know, and the culture. You got to do it on the field as well as off the field, you know, in the classroom as well as on the field. So only thing that's going to do is help make you that much better of a player. So all the transfers, do it like Jamison Williams and Jahmyr Gibbs and Landon Dickerson and Jake Coker and all those guys, and come in and work and make each other better and be dominant and make it happen. So yeah, let's go in the student section. So I want to talk about those. I want to talk about the transfer portal guys. I mentioned I mentioned the running backs. I mentioned how we need to rotate. I mentioned the Bama quarterbacks. I want to talk about, so I want to pause right here, and I kind of want to shift. I want to set this up how you know, the NBA playoffs is going on. You know, you got the Lakers, you got the Celtics. I mean, they're down 0-3 right now. You got the Miami Heat, you got Jimmy Butler, and I was thinking, like, you know, how can I make this, you know, relative to Alabama? And, you know, I got to say, I got to start with Coach Saban. You know, I mentioned last week that we need to play our bigs, you know, run the ball, use our offensive line, like a Jokic or AD or Embiid or a Bam Adebayo. We need to utilize those big guys on the offensive and defensive line. But now I want to talk about like coaching in-game adjustments. I mentioned Georgia earlier, and Alabama rivalry with Georgia. But listen, Georgia's won the past 2 national championships. So if you look at that compared to Saban, right now Kirby's up 2-0 against Coach Saban in the past 2 years. So if you look at it in kind of an NBA playoff series, we got the Heat fan out there. Listen, right now Bama's down 2-0. So we've got to be able to match Georgia, come back and win the national championship this year. So not only that, but you look at the team. You mentioned the Heat right there, Brittany B. Eric Spoelstra. I mean, this guy is a coach that he's been so consistently well coached. And I think it's important that Coach Saban maybe take some things that he learned, from Eric Spoelstra, having his guys prepared. I mean, his guys winning with, obviously Jimmy Butler, Jimmy Buckets. And I'm going to mention Jimmy Butler, how that we Alabama football players need to be more like Jimmy Butler. They need to be more unselfish. They need to get the ball, have confidence in your teammates, let them continue to develop, instill confidence, be an unselfish player, and have that underdog mentality. I mean, you look at the Miami Heat, they were a number 8 seed, and now they're 1 win away going to the NBA Finals. So they have that underdog mentality. And I think Alabama needs to have that top dog mentality, but at the same time have that underdog appetite, never being satisfied, always wanting more and more and more, always staying hungry, like the Miami Heat. So Coach Saban needs to be like Eric Spoelstra. You look at Eric Spoelstra, you look at Mike Malone with the Denver Nuggets. I mean, they're up 3-0 against these, whether it's the Nuggets over the Lakers or the Heat over the Celtics. And it goes back to coaching, the culture that they have in the locker room. Eric Spoelstra, you have the leadership of Jimmy Butler, you have the leadership, the locker room, Pat Riley, you have that type of mindset and mentality. And I think it's important that Coach Saban, I think he made the right decisions to have, Tommy Rees and Kevin Steele, a coach that can make adjustments. And I think the biggest issue, especially from Bama fans, that Tennessee game last year, it looked like we couldn't make adjustments. It looked like we weren't prepared. Even in both losses, we look like even in some of our wins, we did not look prepared. And so I think looking at the NBA playoffs, looking at the teams left who are being successful, looking at Mike Malone, the head coach of the Denver Nuggets, and Eric Spoelstra, being able to make in-game adjustments and keep it fresh and continue to win and be dominant. I think that's what Coach Saban has done. And hopefully his coaches are able to make adjustments where they're it's you have to play teams multiple, especially in the 12-team playoff next year. So listen, we got to make sure we have it like the Miami Heat, Eric Spoelstra. And I think Coach Saban is going to get back to having that type of preparation, that type of adjustments from his coaching staff, i.e. Tommy Rees and Kevin Steele on the defensive end. So I wanted to discuss that also with the NBA playoffs. So we mentioned Jimmy Butler. Listen, I think I mentioned how he's just such a great defender on the end. So I think it's important that Coach Steele has our defense plan. But I think it's important that teams, I mentioned the players earlier, they come in with the unselfish mindset. I think the more unselfish that you are, that you're being dominant, but you make the other people around you so much better. I think that's something we can learn from Jimmy Butler and having that creative culture, that culture that's being dominant and being, making each other better. And that's going to help make our team so much more dominant. So Alabama players, be like Jimmy Butler, be fearless, instill confidence in your players, make your teammates around you a lot better, and be a dog. Have that hunger. Go out there and be dominant like Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat or the Denver Nuggets as well, because they're up 3-0 on LeBron and the Lakers. So I wanted to pause right there. So let's go back to the Stu section. Y'all are rolling. Jeff Stapleton, we got a few good comments. Someone won a national championship as a freshman. Miro Files Milroe falls apart when he can't run. His throwing game is suspect. Yeah, I mean, to your point, Joe Saban, I think it's important that Milroe, in order for him to get that confidence, he needs to continue to get as many reps, many balls up, many snaps, many that where he can continue to develop confidence and poise, and he's not, scattered or flustered, or he gets nervous when pressure and things happen. So you're gonna get rattled, but it's how you handle that. So yeah, I think that's important for Jalen Milroe. So let's see, we got Go Heat. So yeah, last time was legit. That was a joke, but listen, Joe Saban, I love the banter between the Georgia fans and the Bama fans. Joe Saban is saying the first time was legit, second time was a joke. Listen, Georgia's second national championship, they were able to get there without having to play Bama. I still think Bama should have been in the playoffs. Bama should have got that number 4 spot, and I still think Bama would have won the national championship versus Georgia. I just think the revenge factor. But you don't know if I think Bama would have won, but at the same time, we still had Bill O'Brien and Pete Golden. But at the same time, I don't think if we would have gotten in the playoffs, Coach Saban would have stayed on our coordinator so hard that I don't think they would have allowed Bryce Young. I don't think he would allow Bryce Young and Will Anderson to go out not winning another national championship. So he wouldn't allow Bill O'Brien and Pete Golden to mess it up for the team. So that is my 2 cents. So great comment right here. Y'all are rolling today. So let's stay in this section. Brittany B has a great comment, and this goes back to my comment, having that culture, instilling confidence in your teammates. That's what Alabama players need to be, more unselfish. The more unselfish you are as far as making sure you're doing the best at your job and making sure, you're making the guys around you that much better. You look at the Miami Heat, they're winning with a lot of undrafted players. Like, guys that weren't even drafted are being like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, guys who are about to get max contract big deals, but yet they have the right mentality. They have that top dog mentality, but that underdog appetite, so it don't matter who they're playing, put out there, they're going to play the best guys that they have, and they're going to go out there and execute. So I think it's important that Alabama has that same mindset where they go out there and execute no matter who it is, because we have so many talented guys, and we can be like the Miami Heat and win and be dominant. So great point there by Brittany B. So let's stay in the city section. Y'all are rolling. Just able to hear with me on this. Yeah, the committee snuffed us. We know it. It was a fix in. The Tennessee game was. I think the fix was in. They were not going to let Tennessee lose that game, but we still should have won that game. We shouldn't even been in that situation. We should have won the game on a field goal, but it's neither here nor there. But it's a new year. We learned from all our mistakes last year, and I think Coach Saban addressed it with the coordinator hires. So, let's see. Do we have any more? Y'all are rolling. So, yeah, well, great point. Jameson and Mechie going down, that really hurt us. We didn't have any young depth at the receiver position. As John Hall didn't cut it. Trayshawn Holden didn't cut it. We just were so limited, but we were so limited. We were still able to get to the national championship game, but we should have won. But it is what it is. Hopefully, we bring it back this year. So let's go to my next topic. I mentioned the NBA playoffs. I mentioned Jimmy Butler, or Jimmy Buckets, as they like to say. How Coach Saban needs to be like Eric Spoelstra and Mike Malone and his coaching staff, being able to make adjustments and keep it fresh and keep the game plan constantly evolving, especially when you're playing teams that you've already played again before. But just being able to keep it fresh and just know how to attack so many teams, I think that's what Coach Saban can learn from these NBA playoffs. So I mentioned Bryce. I want to mention this too. So we mentioned Alabama football, and can I mentioning Coach Saban? Can we give Coach Saban some love? And I want to set this up by saying how great Coach Saban is. Do you not know Coach Saban is probably the best defensive back coach that is in the country right now? No matter whoever was the coordinator or not the coordinator, but the defensive back coach, Coach Saban has still been able to put his imprint on the quarterback room. I mean, you just look at it. You look at the top cornerbacks in the NFL. I mean, Alabama is DBU. You look at the top cornerback, Patrick Surtain. Patrick Surtain is the top cornerback. You look at the top safeties, Minka Fitzpatrick under Coach Saban. You look at Trayvon Diggs, another top DB. The list can go on and on. Xavier McKinney, Jordan Battle. Brian Branch. We have so many talented guys that has come under Coach Saban's tutelage that I just want to give Coach Saban his flowers. And I know Coach Saban's in Rome, in Italy. Coach Saban is that guy when it comes to DBs. So, and you look at what he's got coming up. Kool-Aid is going to be another top DB. So, Coach Saban keeps turning them out. So it goes to those guys. Listen to what Coach Saban is saying and, continue to get better and continue to improve. And I think I want to pause on Coach Saban. I think, we're talking about basketball. To me, Michael Jordan, MJ is the GOAT. LeBron's making a push, or Kobe Bryant, if anything, making a push. But for me, MJ is the GOAT. The guy won 2 3-peats, retired, came back, won another 3-peat. This is just crazy. But one thing about Michael Jordan, I think Coach Saban needs to get back is to Michael Jordan never let NBA Finals or NBA playoffs go to a game 7, I believe. He always won for the longest. He always won in 5 games or 6 games. So I think it's important Coach Saban get his swagger. We mentioned David Pollock, getting into him. Maybe Coach Saban bringing back his swagger, his demeanor. But I think it's important that Coach Saban keeps his swagger and demeanor where he's so dominant that he's winning the game in the first quarter, in the second quarter, and the game is over with by the third quarter. I think that's what Coach Saban needs to be like Jordan, and kind of have that so dominant mindset that we've already won the game by the third quarter. So like Jordan, Jordan never had a game 6 or a game 5. I think Coach Saban needs to have that type of mindset, and I think he's going to do that with the talent that he has and the leadership of having Tommy Rees as well as Kevin Steele on the defensive end. So let's get in the student section while we are rolling. Listen, Brian Green said MJ is a legend. Yeah, MJ is the GOAT for me. I know a lot of people want to put LeBron number 2, and I have listen, LeBron had to come straight out of high school, so he was kind of the chosen one. I came up with LeBron. Listen, I think LeBron is the GOAT for me, and I think Coach Saban needs to make sure he's the GOAT and win another national championship. So, but don't sleep on Kobe Bryant. I feel like a lot of people don't give Kobe his flowers. If you look at it, to me, he was the closest thing to MJ. In some areas, I think he was a little bit better in the MJ. You could make the argument, but, for me, MJ is the GOAT. So let's go to Van Edwards. He says, I think the recruiting class rankings are fluff. You recruit to what fits the best player in the country and always the best fit for you. Character, play style, ambition, team approach, etc. I do think those characteristics are important, but the way Coach Saban does a lot of things when it comes to recruiting, Coach Saban doesn't buy those recurring rankings. They're good. Saban's usually evaluate guys on what they do on film. He looks at their character, what type of IQ, what type of ambition, does their fit their culture. He has these requirements of how he wants his DBs to be, how he wants his offensive linemen, how he wants his running backs to be. So when it comes to evaluating talent, I think Saban is the best at that. That's why I think it's important that young guys come camp in front of Coach Saban. That way Coach Saban can really evaluate these guys in person, and you really get that true offer where Saban wants you on the team. But yeah, to your point, Van Edwards, the recruiting rankings, they are good. there is what it is. You find some hidden gems. You look at a Marcel Darius. I think he was like a 2 or 3 star coming out of Hubman High School. The guy ended up being a number 3 pick. So Saban knows how to evaluate talent. We mentioned Josh Jacobs. I mean, Saban went and found this guy. This guy was playing quarterback in Oklahoma. He didn't have any big offers. Coach Saban and Burton Burns went. They saw the tape, and Saban said, "Listen, come to Alabama and play running back." And right now, he's the NFL leading rusher so this past year. So Saban knows how to find hidden gems. He knows how to evaluate talent, to your point, Van Edwards. So Brian Green says, love me some Kobe. Miss that dude. Everybody loves Kobe. Reese says, I agree. Oh, Reese got a great question. Who said this? Where is it? Somebody said something about Steph Curry. I'm trying to see. Reese says, what about Steph Curry? For me, Steph Curry is, he's one of the all-time greats. He is, for what he was able to do, undersized. You look at Allen Iverson, but the way he was able to be, just change the game, sharp shooting, really being a true point guard. He revolutionized the basketball game, just making everything now such about the 3-point game. But now the big men are still revolutioning the game. So I'm glad to see the bigs back. The Jokic, the Anthony Davis, the Bam Adebayo, the Embiid, those type of guys. So I'm glad to see the big guys get some love in basketball because Steph just changed the game. Everybody wanted to shoot threes, So, but Steph Curry is going to go down. I mean, the guy has 4 rings. So, it'll be interesting to see. They lost to the Lakers. Is that dynasty over with? Are they going to break up? And maybe rumors about Giannis going to the Warriors. You never know. So it'll be interesting. But Steph is high on my rankings. So let's stay in the student section. Y'all are rolling today. Jeff Saban, great point. Stephen Hicks says, what is my ranking coming out of high school? My ranking, my ranking coming out of high school, I was like a 4-star, coming out of McAdoo High School. We had so much talent in that 2003 class. Tyrone Prothro, Chad Jackson, Jason Swain, Jamarcus Russell, Maron McClain, Terrence Jones, some guys that went to Auburn, Tez Doolittle, Dominique Lee, who else? I mean, that 03 class was just loaded. We were just so deep in the state of Alabama. So shouts out to the 2003 class. A lot of talent coming out. Brian Green, great point right here. The only thing that slowed Coach Saban down was O'Brien and Pete Golden. I think, I don't want to say it, but I think, Coach Saban probably thought he could, let these guys do what they want to do, but I think it ended up biting them, hurting them in the long run. He maybe wasn't as detailed or making sure they were as prepared or stayed on them. But, Coach Saban, I'm quite sure if he could go back and do it, he probably would have been a little bit more stern, a little bit more militant on the 2 coordinators, making sure they know how to, he can encourage them to have the best game plan, have those adjustments, know how to play to your personnel like a Eric Spoelstra and the Miami Heat. So great point right there, Brian Green. Let's keep going. Linda P says, hey, improve Alabama that college football. Alabama's still the top. Yeah, I agree. Van Edwards. Let's go to Van Edwards first, boy. He says, listen, Kobe was the closest thing we will see to MJ in a long time. I agree. And listen, if you really want to dive into it, I know it's a different era. It was a lot of areas where Kobe was maybe he was probably better. He definitely was a better 3-point shooter. He was just basically everything. So a lot of people can argue. I know I got cousins, that are big Kobe fans, and we always have this argument: MJ, Kobe, LeBron. But the Kobe, listen, studying Kobe, he's that guy as well. So great point about Kobe. Man, I'm gonna stay on you. Thanks for showing love. It says 4-star on paper, 5-star in the clutch. I ain't forgot how you came through, Alabama legend Mac Caddell. Appreciate it, bro. Appreciate it. Yeah, I had to continue to work on my game, foresight coming out of high school. But, you come to high school, you go to college, it's another level. So you have to continue to develop, work on your game, play with confidence and all those things. Stephen Hicks, appreciate it. He said, Matt, you prove your worth no matter what. Appreciate it, bro. Appreciate it. Thank you, Linda P. Thanks for the love to the section. Let me thank you all because y'all are the real 5 stars, the 6 stars, the 4 stars. It's the student section. It's Reese, it's Van Edwards, it's Brittany B, it's Stephen Hicks, Jeff Stapleton, Roll Tide Rise Up, Nick Saban Jr., 6-0. It's all you all. You all are the real 4-star and 5 stars. So, but yeah, let's table it right here. And I think we covered everything. We got a lot of Roll Tide Rolls to you, George Lambert. Everybody, listen, I grew up watching those Lakers Celtics rivalries as well. Listen, it's going to be interesting. So, like I said, enjoy the sports this weekend. We're going to come back next weekend. We're going to find a way to bring it back to Alabama here at Football University with me, Matt Caddell. RTR to all the Bama fans out there, the student section. Y'all are the best. Like I mentioned earlier, y'all are the true stars. Y'all are the true talent. Y'all make this show what's going to be. And hopefully we're going to continue to develop things. I'm looking at hopefully we can have some like student section shirts we can give away. But we got some things coming up. And again, thank you all to the fans. But listen, enjoy this week. We're going to have some more football news to discuss next week here, same time with me, Matt Caddell, here at Football University. Have a great week.